Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Ride With Me on a gloomy Friday morning. I'm just heading back from Selkirk. Just did a shoot out there. A little bit of a slower day today. Actually, the last few days have been a little slower due to weather. We've had to do a bunch of rescheduling. We were supposed to do video work earlier in the week with some aerials, and that got moved to Saturday. So it's kind of weird having 2 days off in the middle of the week. Typically I'm working 6-7 days a week, so especially at this time of the year. So yesterday, having a day off, I created the new intro. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Something a little different, same song, but it suits the title of the show. Today we got a special episode coming up around 1:30. I'm going to have a guest on the show. His name's Aaron Sabash. He is a financial security advisor with Freedom 55 Financial. As some of you know, I used to be with Freedom 55 Financial about 6-7 years ago now. He's been in the industry for about 3 to 6 months, if I remember correctly. He's a young guy, 23. I met him last month, or about a month and a half ago or so. He actually caught an episode of Nico's Real Estate Talk and saw what I was doing there, and he was wondering if I could help him brainstorm ideas for a similar show for the financial industry. The hardest part of insurance and finances is kind of breaking it down so people can understand it a little better. I know when I used to do it, I called myself I had learned from a mentor of mine. He had told me, you're like a parachute and trampoline salesman, where insurance is your parachute for your family, because unfortunately all of our planes are going to crash eventually, and the trampoline is the disability and critical illness insurance. So how you bounce back when, if you had a heart attack, or you're diagnosed with cancer, or you hurt your back and you couldn't go to work. He's been wondering how he can help people understand a little bit more, especially at his age. He's in his 20s. So like me, when I was in my 20s, I felt I was invincible, never had insurance. Honestly, didn't save a lot of money. So it's trying to trying to help him educate the younger generation on why insurance is important, why saving money in tax-free savings accounts, RSPs, and all of that at a younger age is more beneficial. But I'll let Aaron get into that more. We're about an hour away from picking him up, so I'm looking forward to chatting with him, asking him some questions, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. But for now, I'm heading back to the city, back to the office to do some editing, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. Hey guys, we're back. It is 1:32, and as promised, I got Aaron Sabash. I'm pronouncing that right?
You're pronouncing that right.
Great. From Freedom 55 Financial here. So, Aaron, we're going to get right into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, certainly. Well, first off, thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem.
Appreciate it. So I grew up in Calgary, Alberta.
Oh, right on.
Moved to Winnipeg about 6 years ago. So I've only been in Winnipeg 6 years. Absolutely love it. Actually came to go to the U of M. Did the jazz studies program. Was a professional musician for a few years. Phenomenal experience.
Wait. You're a professional musician, and now you're in financial planning.
We'll get there.
How'd that come about?
That's a good question. Yeah, so played professionally for a few years. Like, tremendous experience, great community here. Long story short, didn't see longevity in it for me as a career.
Yeah.
I had for a long time, and then, a few experience, blah, blah. Just decided it wasn't going to, have longevity for me. So ran a seasonal business. Actually ran a window cleaning business for about 6-7 months. And, had always been looking at financial services and met with a lot of people, sat down, had coffee, found out more about the industry and decided this was a good option for me.
So it's got to be a tough choice to get into the financial industry when you're dealing with insurance. Like I started when I was in it 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I was in my 30s already, so I kind of knew, and I went through some experiences that showed me, okay, this is something you really need. But how old are you?
I'm 23.
You're 23.
Yeah.
How has that been, trying to talk to people your age about insurance?
Certainly. Well, okay, so I mean, talking to people about my age, it differs across the board so much. Again, I'm 6 years out of high school, so by this time, people have certainly had some life experiences, maybe getting on the career path they want to go on. But it just varies. When I sit down with single people my age who still live at home, that's tough, because it can be tough, if they've never been out on their own. It can be a really tough conversation. However, when I sit down with 22, 23-year-olds who are in serious long-term relationships, have been on their own since 18, it can be easy. I saw a young guy in Calgary last week, and we had a 2-minute discussion about why him and his fiance should get some life insurance to protect each other in the event of either's passing. And he was like, "Yep, that sounds."
Oh yeah, I completely, yeah. If you're engaged or you're getting married, you're buying a house and such, I could see that being an easier conversation. I know I've had those conversations with the younger ones, but yeah, typically the single, do you get the whole, well, I don't need life insurance, I'm pretty much invincible?
Yeah, you get that all the time. I mean, with everything. I mean, you even get that with people who aren't single and have kids.
I'll put my hand up for that one,
that's another one. But yeah, I mean, there's obviously lots of benefits to, specifically talking about insurance, getting it young. I mean, we're healthy, it's cheap. It can be hard for young people to think like, why do I need this? And it's like, well, you don't need it now. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
You might not need it, in 10 years, in 15, but eventually things can happen, right? And who knows? I mean, maybe you do need it tomorrow. It's the same thing. You talk to a young couple, yeah, but what if something does happen? I mean, you guys have planned this beautiful life together, but God forbid something happens. Like, is she going to be taken care of? Is he going to be taken care of?
Yeah, no, I know from my experiences in the industry and such like that was a challenge, more so. Do you feel they're more apt to want to put $25 away in a savings account instead of putting $25 towards an insurance plan?
Certainly, yeah. And I think it's interesting. I think the people who are willing to start doing some of that planning, putting $25, $50, $100 away a month, are just more open to all of those conversations in general because they're taking initiative. Sometimes that can just be the toughest thing,
Yeah.
Even young people, yeah, they don't really want to start saving, or I don't know. That's not how I think. But you certainly see it, and so I'd say the people who start to take that initiative are probably just more open to all of those conversations.
So give us, I guess what's been your biggest struggle? How you've been in the industry? How long now?
6 months.
6 months.
Pretty fresh.
So what has been your biggest struggle or obstacle?
Yeah, I mean, I think meeting the right people. It's such a fascinating industry in so many respects, and certainly just getting in front of the right people. And what does that mean?
Yeah, like are you talking like creating centers of influences, or just the general networking that's going to, potentially you're going to meet that young couple that's, where you're getting, are you looking more to the center of influence, people that you could trade referrals with and such like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, there's certainly some of that. I mean, I guess I'm approaching it from all angles, of course, as any new business owner has to. I think just,
I like how you put that there, though. You're looking at this as a business, and I know when I started 6-7 years ago, we had a class of 20, I think, and by the end of training, there was 6 of us left. Because I think a lot of people thought of it as a job, that things were just going to happen. I like hearing that you're looking at this because that's what it is. You're a self-employed individual. You're a young entrepreneur.
Yeah, and it's a long-term play, right? You're going to have your 1 in a million, maybe not quite that, but who comes in and maybe has not an easy time, but maybe they just have like a great market. You know, I was talking to a young guy in Calgary last week. He's 27, you know, did entrepreneurship in post-secondary. He's been out of school for, you know, 3-4 years.
Yeah.
All of his colleagues from school have now started business. You know, so he's having a lot of traction. It's just a great market to be in. They're not working with anyone yet, you know, so, and he knows what he's doing, so he's having a lot of traction, right? But yeah, I think it is your own business. There's no doubt about it. It's the long-term play. It's, for most people, it's not going to happen overnight, and you're really just trying to build for those future years, doing the right things every day, as with most small businesses, to, you know, eventually over 2, 5, 10 years build something substantial.
Oh, it's definitely, you know, I would still be in it, but I had a young family.
Yep.
And I knew where it was going to be in year 4 or 5, but I was in my second year, and I needed it to be year 4 and 5.
Exactly.
That instant, you know, because and I think that's what I guess some people think, similar to real estate, that I can make some quick money.
And you know that because you deal with a lot of real estate agents. Yeah, I have tremendous respect for guys who come into this industry with families, because again, it's a lot of work, and I think it's a trade-off sometimes. You know, some guy might come in, maybe he's, you know, in his 30s, 40s, maybe he knows a lot of people his age with families who maybe have more of a need or interest in what he's selling than maybe people in their early 20s. However, you know, he's got a family to feed. I don't have a family to feed. You know, he's got to be home at night for the kid. And that's the thing, is there's a trade-off. You know, I can work till 9, 10 at night if I need to.
Yeah.
And I got to support myself, but that's a lot easier than paying a mortgage and, you know, putting food on the table for 3 kids. So I have tremendous respect for guys who come in and do that. And
it's definitely a lot more pressure.
Yeah.
Because you have to make a paycheck when you have a family, and I know that was something that was extremely hard for me. I had a really good first year.
Yep.
The second year was a little lighter, and that's when the pressure of the job. And I don't know if you're finding it in your first 6 months, but do you feel you're spending more than you're making?
That's a good question. I'd say I'm trying to be very aware of the two. I mean, it's a business, right? So, and we've already discussed that, but there's certain expenses you got to do. You know, you got to go out to probably events, you know, chamber events. Those things can cost money. Whatever group it is, you know, take clients out, etc. Market yourself. Yeah, I think there's certainly some expenses. Now, if you compare our business even to real estate, I think there's a lot less expenses.
Yeah, definitely.
Overhead-wise, so...
Like, you don't have a big office bill, like a $3,000 office bill per month.
Exactly.
I remember people would complain about our technology fee, and I'm like, you know, it's $150 or $200 or whatever it was.
Right. You're not
paycheck.
Paying, a couple grand
you're not,
you're not, be in a real estate
you know,
office.
And unless you have a cubicle or an office, really, the community area was free for you. So,
essentially.
I guess, you know, the next question would be is like, okay, so we talked a little bit about your struggles and things like that, but what I'm really interested in, okay, you said you're a professional musician before. How did that trend, like, I understand, you know, you like the financial side of things and such, but what was it about the music that, you know, what made you finally say, you know, okay, music may not be the right route for me. You know, it sounds like you're very passionate about it, and you kind of made a complete 180 and flipped to something completely different.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few questions in there. First, to address, like, really, you know I said long story short earlier, but I guess I'll give you a bit of the long version. Yeah, it had always been my plan to pursue music, you know, throughout my life. And when I moved here, I was doing everything I could to make that happen. And, you know, probably by my 3rd year here, was starting to play quite a bit professionally out and around the scene, and was eventually able to make a living for about, say, 18 months, which was a wonderful experience. And it was always my goal to go to New York. I've had some very close friends, some of my best friends in the world, go do masters in New York, and have had tremendous success. And, you know, great people, incredible musicians, and it was always my dream to follow them there. And to be honest, you know, and just outright, and you know, some people from the music community might know this, some might not, but I went and spent some time there, and you know, stayed with a good friend.
You went to New York?
In New York,
Okay,
yeah. Stayed with a good friend, and he was playing, you know, a couple gigs a night. Really got to see what the lifestyle was like, what the scene was like, and you know, I just got home to Winnipeg, and I was like, man, I don't think I want to do that.
So it was more so the lifestyle that...
You know, still, I don't know if I can really pinpoint. It was just a feeling in my gut, like, man, I don't know if I actually want to pursue that.
Yeah.
And
wow.
you know, exactly. I don't know if I can sit back and say it was this or this or this. You know, those guys, you make sacrifices for the music, and tremendous respect for what those guys do, and they're incredibly talented. But for me, yeah, I guess I don't know. So something switched. So as soon as I got home, a few weeks after I got home from New York, it was like, okay, so what can I look at? Moving into university, it had always been business or music.
Yeah.
And music had taken my heart, and so I was doing that. But as soon as I kind of had that realization, like, hey, maybe I don't want to pursue this for the rest of my life, I started looking at business, and an opportunity came up, actually through College Pro, to run a seasonal business, window cleaning business. And so I did that for 6 or 7 months, and that was one of the best experiences I've ever had. They just essentially handed me the reins and said, here you go, here's your business, make it happen, we'll coach you along the way, but go do it. And so I learned so much, got great contacts from that, and then eventually, was looking at financial services. I think it's something I always thought about. And again, because of the entrepreneurial nature of being a freelance musician, because really it is very entrepreneurial.
Well, yeah, music, I'm assuming, you're basically running a business.
You're running a business, yeah.
And you're...
It's like, where's the next paycheck coming from?
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously.
You've got to market yourself. And through that, I guess it's got to be a little bit more of a challenge, because your music is your advertising. Would you say that? I'm not 100% sure, because
it's a challenge, yeah. It's really I know as Gary Vee would say, it's really a hustle.
Yeah.
You know? Because it's like, where's the next stuff? You're going out to venues, you're trying to get gigs, you're talking to event planners, trying to play for their corporate events. I mean, really anywhere you can play. And so I don't think people oftentimes realize how entrepreneurial that pursuit can be.
Yeah.
You know, and then again, even from a point of just like, you know, showcasing your skills and having other people want to call you. I mean, just that alone, like, it's like a business. I'm bringing my services to the table. I mean, it's obviously very artistic, but
yeah,
you know, when you get to a certain level, people are going to call. The phone's going to start ringing. So, you know, I think naturally coming from that, moving through my seasonal business, and then, hey, financial services, and that's why I took this role as opposed to maybe something more corporate, like at the bank.
Yeah.
More 9 to 5. Like, this is really my baby.
So you're enjoying more of the freedom, I guess, so to speak, Freedom 55. The freedom of being able to set, you know, you obviously you have entrepreneurial DNA, as Gary Vee would say.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
Where you like to be in control of your destiny, so to speak. And so, you know, instead of going to a bank and being a 9 to 5 kind of grunt, here's your job, this way you can keep control.
I mean, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, you reap what you sow, right? Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's the saying.
You know, I think
I'm sure someone will correct us if it's not.
You'll see it, but yeah, certainly off the beginning, like any small business, there's struggles. You know, it doesn't happen right away, but over the long term, you get to really build something of, you know, what I'm hoping is going to be eventually one day of great significance, and it's mine. You know, no one gets to tell me what to do, which is cool, and I feel
except for Gail.
Except for Gail, yeah. But I feel like in this environment, also, I'm really going to get out of it what I put in.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, again, coming back to any entrepreneur, if they're going to work their tail off, it might not be tomorrow, next week, or even in a year, but, you know, 5-10 years down the road, you're really going to see the fruits of your labor. And
for sure.
that just resonates with me.
So when we met about a month ago,
right,
you had some concerns about basically the financial industry not being sexy.
I disagree with that. I think, sexy is a funny term.
Well, I mean, when it comes to getting yourself out there, you can go to networking events. You can, person to person. It's a little. I personally found it was a little easier to go and see somebody, to be chatting with somebody at a networking event, sitting down for coffee. But I think what your concern was after, I had popped in, saw Gail. Gail's my old manager and
just so
Aaron's manager. And she had kind of mentioned what I was doing with Nico's Real Estate Talk. And you watched an episode, and it was something that you're thinking of doing to get yourself out there in social networking or social media.
And especially what Nico is doing. Like, I haven't really seen maybe like one or two other realtors in the city doing something, but that's not really like that. Maybe just showing homes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was unique. And again, when you talk about real estate or financial services, you have such a large group of people who do essentially a very similar or the same thing.
Yeah.
So how do you differentiate yourself? And because I believe in my business, relationship is king. Certainly being face-to-face with people is very valuable. And I'm a pretty outgoing guy, pretty talkative, so it's not an issue for me to strike up conversations. But I think we were really talking about the point of how do you market yourself maybe online.
Yeah, and that's what that's what I mean because everything online now has to be, and I hate to say it, sexy. It has to.
It's got to grab you.
And I'm not saying just having models and stuff like that, but it has to be something that's going to catch people's attention. Like, we see headlines all the time: 20 tips to losing 50 pounds, or in my industry, 5 tips to staging your home to get it sold in days, and so those catchy phrases. With financial planning and insurance planning, it's a little harder to go, hey, there's 20 tips to get your life insurance. It
is harder, and I think there is a big difference between, if we want to say it that way, the sex appeal of investing and insurance.
Well, investing's definitely sexier because people look at, hey, I can make $1 million.
Grow your money. Yeah, and you know what? I have to say, I have a colleague, a young guy, who really focuses on that side of the business and has built a great network online for, really he puts out great value, great information, and it's mainly based around investing.
Yeah.
But he's had tremendous success with that. Now, that being said, he's been doing that for 2 or 3 or 4 years. I mean, he's really put in the time.
Yeah.
And now he's reaping the rewards. So again, like we're big proponents of Gary Vaynerchuk, and I think that's the thing. Even for me, is just it's that consistency, right? So you just bring the value.
Yeah.
Simple, like you're trying to do, and it's the consistency and the patience. And I'm still trying to figure out, how do I really market that properly or get people's attention? I don't know.
I guess it comes down to, like you said, figuring out what people want to know about it. It might even be as simple as breaking down. Like I said earlier, when I was talking about you coming onto the show, I talked about the parachute trampoline thing.
Sure.
And it's not it's not a sex appeal thing. Now, is somebody gonna let me over? Oh, right on. Cool. We got a good Winnipegger.
Hey, there you go.
It's not really a sex appeal thing. I think with insurance and investing, it's more so the breaking it down into things that people understand, comparisons that people can, go, oh, okay, so that's what life insurance does.
Sure.
I think the misconception, especially with the younger generation, is, well, what do I need life insurance for? Or even when I was in it, it was, well, I'm not going to use it. Well, no shit, you're not going to use it.
That's right.
It isn't for you. It's for your family.
And I
or
think
if you're a younger person, God forbid somebody passed away at a young age without ever having a family, it's for peace of mind for your family or for your parents and such like that. I guess your struggle is how do you get that across?
How do you get that across? Kind of like that guy just cut you off. I don't think that's the right way to get it across.
No, just slam him in the face.
Yeah, and I think for me, just again, be outright. I mean, I need to be a little more of a practicer and an executor, I think. But you know, figuring out, yeah, like, is blogging a great way to do that? You're doing video. I think video is probably a great way to do that. Now, Gary always talks about how he's great with video. I don't really know. I'm gonna find out, I guess, after this episode, if I'm great with video.
You know, when I started this, nervous as hell.
Sure.
Sure. I'm getting a little better. You know, I've streamlined it. You know, having you on the show, having my friend Shannon on the show a couple weeks ago there. You know, it's you evolve. On the Ask Gary V show this morning, I think it was, or yesterday, he had, have you seen the TV show $1 Million Listing?
Frederick Eklund, one of my favorites.
Yeah. He was on there, and, you know, Gary showed some of his first episodes of Wine Library. And I think what we worry about too much is being so professional and, you know, sticking to this straight line that we forget our personality.
Yeah.
You know, I think if you were to come up with some sort of show similar to this, or a vlog, you know, talk about your experiences with clients, you know, talk about your struggles, create that personal connection with your audience. I think that, you know, that's the way to go with this. And educating people on,
it's huge.
You know, there's so much you can educate people on in the financial industry, in the insurance industry.
Tremendous.
You know,
I agree.
I think you just got to get out there. And, you know, Gary's a big proponent, I guess, of Snapchat.
Certainly.
And I've been trying to use it a little bit.
Yeah.
It is. I find it harder than doing this, because I've actually got to say what's on my mind in 10 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
exactly. You got to get it out.
You know, yesterday I was at the golf course, so I decided to do a little Snapchat of that, and I find that's where Snapchat is a little bit more successful. I still don't understand it. I don't understand how to build your audience and such like that.
Yeah, it's true. It's I don't know, and I think, like, as we'll see it evolve, and Gary's all about it right now, you know, figuring out ways to sell with it, monetize with it. You know, even personally, I almost enjoy his YouTube stuff more, like his longer, you know, like his daily V's, or his, you know, his Ask Gary V show. But again, it's where's the attention, and it seems like it's really shifting there. So
I find that I don't know, the amount of podcasts I watch and listen to, and the YouTubes, I find it's going a lot more to long form. Another great one to watch is Chase Jarvis. Chase Jarvis Live. He actually did a thing called the 30 Days of Genius. I had talked about it in one of my previous vlogs. And he had guys like Seth Godin on there, Mark Cuban, you know, quite a few of those guys, and it's all long form content. And I think for you could create long form content, but then cut out small, you know, short form content out of that. So I think that would be very valuable for you to create. You know, you could create 52 shows that are long form, say half an hour, 45 minutes, and then pull 10, you know, 5-minute clips out of there. Now you have to strategize on what you're going to talk about and things like that. So, but you know, I think that would be very valuable for you. And then, like I said, you know, financial industry, you know, financial planning industry or insurance, there's a lot to talk about. And
it's changing. Yeah,
there's a lot of information. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to, you know, I've been bugging you the last month or so.
Well, I better get it together now, you know?
Yep. Well, yeah, guys, go look him up on Facebook, Aaron Sabash, and bug him.
Well, yeah, maybe more on Twitter.
Oh, yeah, you're on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle?
That's Aaron Sabash.
Okay, right on. So yeah, make sure you hit him up on there. Tell him to get his Facebook business page going.
That's right.
So we can start getting some content on there. I guess my next question would be, you know, you're fairly new in this. I was in it at one time, but you know, but that was 6-7 years ago. So now you're in this industry now, young. Say I was a 20-something year old, and I said, you know, Aaron, I don't know what to do right now. I'm interested in finance. You know, I don't know. What would you tell somebody if I was 20 years old? looking at possibly getting into the insurance and finance industry?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, and obviously as a young guy who's just come in, I think about that all the time. There is going to be tremendous change, I think, in the industry over the next 5, 10, 15 years in many respects. We have a lot of fintech technology coming in. That's going to disrupt. I don't know how that's going to, some people may value the face-to-face relationship less and move to that. I don't know. I just try to stay aware of what's coming and evolve.
So what's this fintech?
Well, you have financial technology, right? So you got these robo-advisors coming out. So,
like online advisors?
Yeah, exactly. And even again, one of the bigger insurers in China, from what I've heard and been told, is only online. So they've completely cut out the agent, right? So there's things that are going to come in and disrupt the industry. So it's going to change in that respect. But as a young entrepreneur, business owner, doing something which I see tremendous value in and enjoy, I think there's so much opportunity, because even when you walk into my office building, maybe there's another 50 advisors there. There's a few of us who are in our early mid-20s, and then almost everyone else is my parents' age.
Yeah.
So like mid-late 50s, retiring in the next 5 to 8 years, and there's going to be a handoff there, right? And
you got to start rubbing shoulders with those guys.
Sure, certainly. But for the people who, young guys like me, you come in, you learn the craft, you do the job well, within the client's best interest, and you really build something. There is going to be so much opportunity. It's tremendous.
It's interesting you say client's best interest, because I find that isn't done as much anymore in a lot of industries, not just financial services. I see it in real estate. I see it in your general customer service.
Sure.
When you go to Tim Hortons and go to get a coffee, or you go to Walmart, and the checkout girl or guy doesn't even say hi to you. Or my wife experienced it a couple of weeks ago, where the checkout girl at Walmart told my wife to hang on, and she picked up her phone and started texting her friend.
Nice. That's cool.
And the other thing when I see is that I feel once people in any industry get to that level, they don't feel they care about the people that are lower on their lists. So how are you going to combat that?
Yeah, so again, I think a few questions in there. I'll try to keep this lined up and keep my thoughts straight. So I think that, there's a few things. Obviously, in the client's best interest is something that's talked about a ton in the financial industry.
Yeah.
Which, again, I think is so important. For me, just to be, and I don't think I'm a saint or anything by any means, but I don't know if I could really sleep at night knowing that I wasn't doing the right thing for the client.
Yeah.
I'm trying to build a long-term business. My business is based on relationships. So, doing not the right thing to make a few extra bucks today doesn't, help my business in 20, 30, 40 years. And so I'm here to build long-term relationships, and that's why, I find that so important. And just, again, it comes down to, if you can sleep at night screwing people over, that's one thing, but I certainly can't. So I think that's a big one. And even in the financial industry in general, there's new legislation and stuff coming in every year, and it's really there to protect the client. So for someone like me who values that and values working, within the interests of the client, that's great, because the guys who don't either aren't going to survive, or they're going to, and that's more opportunity for us.
Yeah.
But for guys who really prove to clients the value they bring, it's just more opportunity for them. And again, more clarity in any service-based business that's really benefiting the client is, I think, in the end, the way to go. It brings its own challenges, but if you're doing the right things, you're going to thrive and not only survive.
Yeah, and I think that's society today is wanting, we may not see it a lot because, like I said, you know, the people that don't put the client's best interest first. But I think society still wants that thank you. That person that will go that extra mile for them. And when they do receive that, I think they're with social media, and we're going back to social media, I think when you do that extra mile or you say that thank you or such, they're more apt to talk about it, saying, you know, hey, Aaron just did this for me, you know, and you know, they're willing to spread the word, you know.
I agree. Yeah, I think as much as, you know, the world is changing and you know, social media brings such tremendous value to so many industries, I still think there's something to be said for, you know, just building that relationship and doing the right things. And you know, I have to admit, like, I'm out, you know, at networking events within the community, and when I meet entrepreneurs who just value bringing value to people, you know, for nothing, just because that's the way they run their business.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna wait for something to come to me. I'm gonna, you know, bring value to my client or my prospective client because I want to do it. And I mean, yeah, those are the people I hit it off with, right? Because that's just the way we want to run our businesses.
So I kind of sidetracked us with my whole, you know, in the client's best interest, and the original question was, you know, what would you give a 20-something year old
Right.
Advice on getting into this industry?
Yeah, I think there's tremendous opportunity. I said that earlier. There's a lot of people who are going to be leaving the business in the next 5 to 10 to 15 years, and someone's going to be there to pick up the pieces and carry on the business. And, you know, right now I'm not even sure if there's enough people to do that. So I think there's tremendous opportunity, and I really think this career, for the right person, you're relationship based, you know, you're outgoing, you love working with people. Like, I don't know if there's a better business, really. It's tremendous.
But what would you say, though? Okay, you know, it's a great business. There are going to be a lot of veterans that are going to be retiring.
Yep.
But what does someone new in this industry have to be aware of? That it you know, it's not all, because we hear it a lot. Like when they recruit people, it's, oh, you can make X amount, you can do this. But I think what they forget to tell you is, in the beginning, you're not really going to be making a lot of money. So, you know, what would you say? Okay, should I have 3 months of income? Should I have a year's worth of income just in case things go south? You know, and I want to take it out another year, you know, try and stick with it?
Yeah, I think, you know, obviously more is always better. There's going to be times, again, it's so situational. Some people will come in and do pretty well, or, you know, I don't have family in Winnipeg. I didn't grow up here, so I might have, you know, a bit more of a stripped down market than someone who's actually starting this business, you know, with their parents, there's parents, friends. Like, you never know where there's opportunity.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah, if you can float yourself for 6 months without having to worry about living expenses 12 months, that's fantastic. You know, probably take a little stress out. But again, it's so situational. I think people just need to, as with probably most businesses, have the long-term vision.
Yeah.
Obviously, you need to be making a living, so that's crucial, which is not always that easy to do. But think about how that hard work is going to compound, you know, 5 and 10 years down the road, because that's really when it starts to compound.
Yeah.
And I think if you're real about that, and you don't say, oh, okay, well, by year 2 I want to be making 150 grand, then it could be great. And yeah, I think you just have to acknowledge that that's probably going to be the way it'll go. And so you get through the ups and downs, because entrepreneurs go through a lot of ups and downs, and you got to keep the smile on the bad days, and you got to certainly enjoy the good days, but don't let it go to your head, and keep working, which a lot of entrepreneurs know. But I think there is a time when it starts to stabilize, and it's just having that long-term vision. You know, for me, sure, there's tough days, certainly, but I'm 23 years old, so as long as I'm making a living, you know, I got lots of time to go, and I think that's what keeps me pounding the pavement every day.
So everybody, Aaron's in it for the long haul. So if you have any questions for Aaron, post them in the comments. Hit them up on Twitter at Aaron Sabash.
At Aaron Sabash.
On Twitter there. Search for him on Facebook. Bug him about getting his Facebook page going. And yeah, if you have any questions about financial planning, about insurance, post it in the comments. I can get a hold of him at any time. I'll also have his contact information up on the screen, so you guys can find him. Aaron, I want to say thank you so much for being on the show. You're my second guest. Well, third. My wife was telling me, well, I was your first guest.
And best.
Yes. So, I want to thank you so much for being on the show and taking time out of your busy day. And yeah, appreciate it.
Hey, happy to do it, and thanks for having me. Always great to talk with you, Mukesh.
No problem. Guys, that's it for Friday's episode. You take it easy, and we'll see you next time.